Something was reported today that is very, very disturbing. I don't want to pull rank on the civilians out there in my audience, but I was in the Navy and the Air Force, 4 years each. Um, what happened was an active duty major in the U.S. Air Force in Washington, I believe, gathered a bunch of people together and in front of cameras, in other words, publicly for publicity, called for the impeachment of the president. Now, you may have noticed that I have no love for the individual currently in that office. However, I was in the military and I understand how it works. We absolutely cannot have a politically fractured military. You think things are bad now? You imagine the way, if this fascist government in Washington were to continue, I personally don't think anybody but Trump could do it, and I don't think he'll be able to do it. But say it was to continue, it would not be as bad as having a politically divided military. That is the worst thing I can imagine. The military that the U.S. has, even after if it was subject to years of a fascist regime, is still going to have the habit of deferring to civilian authority, which it should. You can't push down on one thing and think everything's going to be better. You're just making things worse. The military swore an oath. Everybody in the military understands it's against the military codes and it's against the law for someone to call for the impeachment, even a legal process, yes, but to question the authority or to ask the authority be removed. The military is an organization of discipline, not weapons. The weapons are not as important as the discipline. As soon as the oath that this guy took, he took an oath to the Constitution, but he also knows that he's under the discipline of showing respect, or at least not open contempt, for those in the command chain above him. You cannot have the military breaking up in this way. It is the worst thing imaginable. It is worse than another 4, 8, however many years of a fascist government. That we can work against. We have processes in the United States for correcting that drift, but we have nothing to handle a divided military for a whole bunch of reasons. People in the United States just have no frickin' idea of civil war. They have no idea at all of what the military breaking up would be. It doesn't last long because one part of the military puts down the other part. If you look at all the splits in militaries in history. Anyway, I just thought I would comment on that. It is a terrible event if it occurs again, and I don't know, it might. I was thinking of commenting on this, but I comment less and less. I know the National Security Agency is no doubt collecting names. No big deal. But I comment less and less. And what I was to say to this guy was, he had 17 years then. There was a chance he would have made 20, although they're reducing in force so they don't have to pay a retirement. But I said, get your 20 in and then protest. This fascist government is probably not going to go away. Or quit and then do your protest. Do not protest with a uniform on. That is absolutely no good. That is destructive to the country. And I'm not talking about any love of Donald Trump. I don't have any. And it's unfortunate that he's the commander-in-chief. But the military must not break up. It's the most terrible thing imaginable. So, think about it. Civilians do not have a good idea of the military. Like I said, the military is discipline. It is not weapons. A bunch of weapons and a bunch of undisciplined people, that's chaos. That's a mob. As soon as you lose the discipline, even if it's a sworn, if you're sworn to follow a fascist dictator, you are sworn to follow the president's orders. It's most unfortunate, but that's not fixed by breaking the military. Meanwhile, we've got peer adversaries, China principally, and all of that hasn't gone away just because we're divided at home. So, think about it, people. It's not a movie. It could really happen. And in the meantime, you take care of yourself, take care of others, and we will see you again, hopefully without this provocation. Ciao.